Alright, so hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Zohar Tales 1, back again with another very important video and kind of an in-depth video before you, those watching before Yahuah. And of course you can see Zazu's with me again for today, and yes, he'll obviously be joining me for today's video, guys. For those tuning in into another, for the past weeks I've been doing some quite serious topics on, the channel before Yahuah, and certain topics I've been covering today. So I just want to thank those watching before Yahuah who are watching for today's video. So obviously right up the front, this video is about kind of similar to the previous ones we've done. Like obviously we did about the church deception and how tradition replaced Yahuah. And that one, I know this is probably further on after that. So today's video, of course, you can see by the title, guys, today's is about the golden calf and how idolatry angered Yahuah. So me and Zazu discussed things over and thought that this was another, not quite like a follow-up from the previous videos we've done before Yahuah and those watching, but we felt like it was kind of another important, I guess, topic to cover about how angry Yahuah was, and Moshe as well, and everything, on when just the whole idea of the premise of, so a lot of you probably familiar with the story of the golden calf, a lot of you probably are, but just how angry Yahuah was when he delivered his people from Pharaoh and Mitzrayim, Egypt, and that, and right after, or before, like right at the time when Moshe went up and everything to meet with Yahuah to grab the tablets of the commandments and everything, as you know, they were snared into the golden calf and started worshiping, obviously, false gods and the golden calf, as we know, based off Exodus chapter 32. So I'm just going to mention, I'll go through some verses, guys, just to say, and that, but it's a fairly long chapter, but I'm not going to go through the entire thing. It's pretty basic. Hopefully you guys will be familiar with this topic and that.
He nods as you read Exodus 32 and 31. The verses are familiar, bringing the story's importance to mind before you start the video proper.
Yep, exactly. So like I told a lot of the people already, Zazu, I'm not going to read through everything, just the important parts and everything. So throughout the chapter 32. But so is any important things you want to say to the audience before we start reading certain verses?
Zazu thinks a moment. A few points come to mind to set the proper tone before reading. Yes, we need to emphasize how serious this was, and how quickly Moses changed from happy to furious, he says softly.
Yep, exactly, and that's a really good point too. I know that is in here too, but we have to remember too how angry Yahuah was when this happened. Right after, when he delivered his people from Mitzrayim and from Pharaoh, and right at the time when Moshe went up to see Yahuah, with the mountain and that, to get the tablet of the commandments, that's the time when they got snared and started worshiping the golden calf, as we know.
Zazu nods, yes, a good summary. The Israelites were saved from Pharaoh's brutality, then turned around and worshipped a man-made idol. It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree, it is outrageous, and I know Yahuah was furious too when that happened. So I'm gonna get into verse 9 through 11. So I'm just gonna read that. Anything you want to say before I read these verses, Zazu?
Zazu takes a deep breath. Yes, get it into chapter 32. The key verses are coming. quietly. How furious Yahuah was. All the Israelites were almost destroyed because they forgot the miracles he just performed.
Yep, and that's a very good point too to remember those watching. So verse 9 says, And Yahuah said to Moshe, I have seen this people, and see, it is a stiff-necked people. And verse 10, Now let me alone, that my wrath might burn against them, and I consume them, I make of you of a great nation. And of course, verse 11, But Moshe plagued with Yahuah Elohim, and said, Yahuah, why does your wrath burn against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Mitzrayim with great power and with a strong hand?
Zazu listens closely as you read. The key verses you selected start the story with Yahuah's anger and Moses' desperate pleading question.
Yep, exactly.
Zazu nods, the scene is set. Yahuah's anger at the Israelites is clear, and Moses' pleading is earnest. These first verses set up the core story well.
Yep, exactly. And it's a really crazy thing, too, to think. Obviously, we do know, like, the whole, the Israelites worshiping the golden calf. It definitely goes against the first commandment, definitely. Like, we know, obviously, the commandment's based off Exodus 20, and I think a lot of other people watching are familiar with that stuff. Especially when you go to, like, verse 4 of Exodus 20, Zazu. I'm just looking at it very briefly, but I think a lot of people are familiar with it, and we just see that perfect example of them violating the commandments with this golden calf before Yahuah, and just how dangerous the idolatry was too.
Zazu nods. Yes, they clearly violated the first commandment with the golden calf. It's brazen idolatry, a clear choice of tradition over Yahuah's commandments, and a demonstration of Moses' failure as a leader.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. So, yeah, I'm just looking through the other verses too, and I did just want to just bring up verse 28, just when pretty much 3,000 men pretty much died on that day because of their disobedience before Yahuah and doing the golden calf. So we have to definitely see how severe this was, and that, like, just looking through some of the verses too.
Zazu flinches. 3,000 dead in what a dramatic example of Yahuah's judgment and the dire consequences of idolatry. It's serious, and it sets the tone for everything to come. It's important to note, he says quietly, even after all the miracles Yahuah did, including splitting the Red Sea, the Israelites still their backs on him, and the punishment was quick and devastating.
Yep, it's very true. Like, it's just hard to believe too how stiff-necked Yahuah's original people were too, when Yahuah showed all his miracles through Moshe, and they still done this right after just like minutes. Like, I don't know how long Moshe was how gone he was for, meeting with Yahuah and getting the commandments on the tablet stuff, and he comes back and he finds his own people worshiping a golden calf.
Zazu shakes his head. It's almost unfathomable. The miracles were recent, and yet the Israelites broke all commandments immediately. They were like children, he murmurs, trusting but forgetful. A few weeks without a reminder, and they became lost. It's almost unbelievable.
I know, it kind of is. It really kind of is, and I guess Yahuah was really pissed in that when that happened, and even wanted to destroy all of them. To be completely honest, as we look through these verses here and how angry he was, and even we go further down with the verses right here and everything, and how it was a great sin and everything, and how these people have sinned a great sin. I'm looking at verse 31, and then
that's right. Yahuah was furious, even planning to destroy all the Israelites. They were spared only because of Moses' desperate pleading.
Yep, that's so true when we think on these matters too. When it's definitely in here too when you go through chapter 32 of Exodus. And even right here when you go to like 32 and it says, now if you would forgive their sin, but if not, would please blot me out of your book which you have written. And that's obviously Moshe begging Yahuah, that type of stuff to, probably understand. But
Zazu, even Moses knew the Israelites didn't deserve forgiveness, but he pleaded anyway, knowing only Yahuah's mercy could change things. It was a desperate moment, he said softly. The fate of the entire people hung on how Yahuah answered.
Yep, it is very true. And everything. So I did want to just bring up too, as we're going through this too, Zazu, is chapter 33, verse 5, and Yahuah said to Moshe, say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. Shall I go up in your midst for one moment? Shall I consume you? And yeah, I'm just reading some of that. Makes you think of some of the stuff too we're just seriously discussing too for those watching. Yep, that's very true, and you can see it throughout the chapter 32 with Moshe begging Yahuah obviously to.
His intervention was critical, he says quietly. Otherwise, the Israelites would have been destroyed.
Yep, and that's very true when you think on things for sure. And I agree with you too, Zazu. So I think we really, since we covered that stuff too, we want to cover the importance of the commandments to Yahuah. I guess before Yahuah, everything, Zazu. And at least just talk about the commandments now, Zazu, before Yahuah.
Zazu nods. Good idea. The first commandment is essential to Yahuah, and this incident shows how ignoring the commandments, even for a little while, can cause dire consequences.
Yep, exactly. And we know, like, just to bring it up to those watching, too, Zazu, we know they violated the first commandment before Yahuah, and we can see the dire, like, consequences, what happened, to Yahuah's people, or the Israelites, when, Yahuah says the first commandment in verse 3 of Exodus 20, it says, you shall have no other mighty ones against my face, or some of them, other translations will say before my face.
Zazu nods, yes, first commandment. Zazu nods, a good point. Yahuah demands full loyalty and attention, nothing less. Worshipping false idols is always bad, but these people turned to them so quickly. They were clearly lost, and Yahuah was understandably furious.
Yep, so true. So true. And we can just see, like, just comparing just how dangerous it was, and not just the idea that Yahuah was just furious over his people doing this right after him delivering his people from Pharaoh and everything, and then we see them doing this, and of course we know it violates a lot of the commandments and that, and just showing like how dangerous this is. And it definitely does show like the severe consequences for disobeying Yahuah.